So the Pittsburgh Steelers have a Pro Bowler on this team that was just put on the chopping block, and the player I want to talk about is Cordarrelle Patterson. Granted, he's a little long in the tooth, but the guy has a lot of value as a quality depth piece in a running back room, and he could also play a big role on special teams, and that's been his role for Pittsburgh. It hasn't quite panned out, but I'm going to go through some potential trade partners. There's a couple teams in particular that should be big time teams to go after his services. And also I want to kind of talk about something else, and that's the change in kickoffs. That began last year, and it was supposed to offer teams both an opportunity to gain an edge or fall behind as the new rules would dictate new skill sets, right? So what did the Steelers do right away? They took a sort of a middle-of-the-road move. They actually moved very quickly to sign Patterson, and he's one of the top kick return threats in the whole history of the NFL, but he's certainly getting towards the end of his career. He is now 33 years old, but that does not mean he doesn't have value. The Steelers just very well might not have room in this running back room moving forward, and they're gonna get value for him. The guy has undeniable talent. He has been an impressive returner, but the new rules, they don't really seem to benefit him nearly as much as the old rules did. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are seeing that. And this experiment, it might be coming to an end really soon. So you're looking at Patterson right now. He is on the roster, but Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, he thinks as well that Patterson's future with the Steelers is going to be, well, it's not going to be a future with the Steelers. It's going to be with another team. So he just had an appearance on the North Shore podcast, and this is what Fittipaldo had to say. No doubt they've got to do a better job with their kick returns. We're probably seeing the last of Cordarrelle Patterson back there. I can't imagine after last season the Steelers would want to have him back there. But they do have some options. They've got a lot of different guys who can return those kicks. And that's one of several tough decisions I'm sure that the Steelers have in the future regarding special teams. You're looking at Patterson and now likely no more Austin as a special teamer because he's being elevated in his role as a receiver. I would prefer for your Steelers to not take that risk with a very important player returning kicks. A lot of times that doesn't turn out well. But we've also got a guy like Kenneth Gainwell. We've got Scotty Miller. You guys even have Jalen Warren. All these guys could be involved in trying to earn a role as a important part of this running game, but also, you know what? You've got to contribute in special teams too. So despite being one of the best returners of his generation, this kind of jackknife in Patterson, he could be just one and done with the black and gold. So kind of looking at a little bit more on him as a player. First round pick in 2013 out of Tennessee. And he became one of the most exciting threats in the whole NFL, completely unique skill set, and he carved out a role as a hybrid receiver and running back. So he's accumulated over 5,500 yards from scrimmage on offense, and he also holds an NFL record, 9 kick return touchdowns. That still is holding up. It's kind of surprising that Devin Hester doesn't have that record. I had to double check it. But yes, Patterson has a record with 9 kick returns for touchdowns. So we're kind of looking at too, he was a player that came over with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith seems to really, really like this player, and he used him a lot with the Atlanta Falcons, but he didn't really recapture the same magic with the Steelers. He appeared in 13 games, didn't look all that special as a kick returner, just 215 yards from scrimmage on offense, and now there's very well that there's just not a place on this roster where he can slot in. So I think this might be the end of the road with the Steelers, but looking at other teams all over the league, he's still considered a big play threat, and that's something that's kind of rare in the NFL. I think we're looking at some teams that are looking for an edge, especially on special teams, and he's going to have a market for his services. The Steelers could be looking at a day 2 or a day 3 pick in exchange for his services, because I think he still has gas left in the tank if he's not relied on to obviously be a starter or even a number 2 running back. So let's kind of look at the most obvious reunion, Yes, a reunion, and that would be with the Vikings, right? The Vikings have already done a reunion this year. They reunited with linebacker Eric Wilson. He came over in free agency after his stint in Green Bay, and now he was a first rounder from the Vikings. He really makes sense for a reunion. And I'm talking about Wilson. He's going to serve as a depth linebacker in Brian Flores' defense and also play a special teams role. So there's kind of a pattern here, right? Teams work in patterns. They brought Wilson back. He was a former first rounder for the Vikings. Now he's back in a depth position and in a special teams role. So let's kind of look at this as far as comparing that to Wilson and compare that to Cordero Patterson. I think he's a very good candidate to make the Vikings 53. I think the Vikings will trade for him because he does not have room on this Steelers roster. Let's look at who is here at running back. We've got Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, Trey Sermon. Cordero Patterson kind of slots in there. Jonathan Ward, he was just released. I'm going to talk about that. And then you kind of got a guy like Even Hall, which isn't a big deal, but it just doesn't seem likely that he's going to make the roster. And why would Minnesota need him? You're looking at the team's RB3, Tyler Chandler. He's a waive candidate. He's making too much money, and the Vikings go out of their way traditionally to find an alternative to Chandler. They've never been happy with him because he doesn't pass block well. So Cam Akers, he came into town in 2023 and 24, and they're just searching for a guy that's deeper on the depth chart that can provide some pop, that can also pass protect, and Patterson's definitely that guy. So I would put Minnesota at the forefront of trading for him. You're also looking at the Chargers. I mean, he could be a really match for them. They kind of have a Steelers connection. Najee Harris is there. First-round rookie Omarion Hampton is going to take over the reins eventually. But there's room for a more unique playmaker, and Patterson could definitely be slotted into there. Greg Roman, he should be able to scheme really unique plays that would really make the most out of Patterson's ability to move around the formation, make plays out of the backfield. That's why Arthur Smith had him there, but I think he's just obsolete for Pittsburgh. You can look at Buffalo. James Cook wants a new contract. The Bills should have a plan B just in case. All they really have back there is Ray Davis. Now, while Patterson isn't a 200 carry type player, he could definitely ease the workload on Davis if it's absolutely needed and kind of help him handle a larger fair share of the pie as far as the rushing game if Cook ends up holding out. You're also looking at the Saints. I think they're a possible fit. I don't think they're the front runner, but you're kind of looking at them. The word Cam Akers is coming up again. That suggests that the team doesn't believe in former third-round pick Henry Miller to carry the water behind Alvin Kamara. Patterson might have more upside than Akers, more versatility than Akers. That's a big possibility. But I think next to the Vikings, the biggest possibility to make a move for Cordero Patterson is the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, he's played on 6 separate teams. It's a little surprising that he hasn't been on an Andy Reid team all these years. He seems to be the Reid type of player. Best coach in the league when it comes to scheming targets for really unique players at running back. He hasn't played a player, though, capable of making the most of all the opportunities in quite some time. We're looking at Pacheco. He's a straight-ahead downhill runner. He lacks Patterson's soft hands, though. He lacks his ability after the catch. And we're looking at Patterson not having the same burst, but he does not have to. He could get schemed up so well in this Andy Reid offense and kind of looking just for another impact playmaker for quarterback Patrick Mahomes. I think they should look to make a move for Patterson, possibly upgrade their depth at running back and wide receiver, and the price should be right. So that kind of goes in tandem with the release of Ward. That was kind of surprising for me. And it looks like there's not even room on the roster for Ward. He kind of looked a little promising, right? He originally joined the Steelers on a 1-year veteran benefit contract in May 2024. Remained on the roster the entire preseason. Then he got let go for final roster cuts, and then Steelers brought him back shortly after. First regular appearance came on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 5. Then he played 17 total snaps after being elevated on game day for that. He ended up logging 52 snaps over the next 3 contests, got signed to the active roster, waived on November 9th. Then he ended up back on the practice squad. He's kind of bounced around, but he was promoted to the active roster on November 16th. Then waived again December 4th. It's just kind of a push and pull, but he was definitely, I thought he was going to be a part of this roster. He was looking like he was ascending, showing a little bit of pop on the roster. But I think if a player like Ward has no room on this roster, a player that's longer in the tooth like Patterson likely doesn't either. And I think there's definitely a market for him. I think he's definitely on the chopping block. And yeah, let's see what happens. Keep an eye on this. We're past June 1st, so the dead cap hit likely would be very, very minimal. I know the Steelers, for one, you guys are so good at managing dead cap money. You lead the league with the least dead cap money. I think you're under $1 million. Such a good job by Omar Khan. And I'm going to continue to be here with kind of an outsider's view on your Pittsburgh Steelers on the daily. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It is a huge blessing to me. And appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.